Okay, this is our revision mind map session for the crime and deviance section. Okay. First thing we got to cover, what is crime and what is deviance. They are not the same thing. Yeah, they depend on the context, is the crucial bit. So crime, formal written down rules that people have written them down. They break the law. Human law, not natural law. Gravity is a law that exists whether you believe in it or not. Taking somebody's life is a crime. It's against the law because we've decided it is. Deviance is similar, but not the same. Deviance is breaking the rules of the culture. So somebody letting one go, somebody swearing, these are not illegal, but they are deviant. How deviant they are depends. Yeah, Aaron, Toby, sitting at home wearing a dress, not a crime, but deviant. Yeah, so deviant is when you break the rules of the culture. Yeah, that's the definition of deviance: breaking the rules of the culture. Crime is usually deviant, but not always. The example we use is speeding. If the speed limit is 30 miles an hour and you are driving in a car at 31, you are breaking the law, but most people would not see that as very deviant. If you're driving the same car on the same road at 60 miles an hour, that is still obviously a crime, and people would mostly see it as deviant. It's a slightly complicated thing to get your head around. It's not a simple, straightforward connection between crime and deviance. Yeah, it depends on the context, it depends on the background. So we often talk about nudity in this context. Being naked is sometimes a crime, it is sometimes deviant, and other times it is not. If you're in the shower, it is in no way deviant to be naked. In the street, deviant, and perhaps even criminal. So it's not the action, it's the where and the when, and who looks at it and what they think about it. Yeah. Other examples, in Britain, tobacco, alcohol are legal. We have decided that those particular drugs, those recreational drugs, we have decided in our culture, they're legal, they're fine. Somewhere like Pakistan, Muslim country, alcohol is illegal and it's taken very seriously. Weed, marijuana, is legal. The culture's different, therefore the laws reflect it. Extreme example, the Aztecs about 500 years ago, when the Spanish arrived there, were disgusted and shocked to discover widespread human sacrifice. The Aztecs killed thousands of people per year as part of their religious ceremonies. The priests wore skin. The Aztecs did not think this was either criminal or deviant. It's part of their culture. Yeah? Therefore, what is deviant changes between cultures. It depends on the rules that we make. Yeah? That's the big thing to get your head around at the start. The next big thing to really get your head around is linked to crime. And how much crime is there? How do we measure crime? How much crime is there? How many things are stolen? How many criminals are there? Etc. etc. How much crime? And we start off by looking at the official stats, the statistics that the police and the Home Office, the government produce. Now we know that these are not very reliable. They're not quite rubbish, but in some ways they're not very far off. Why? Well, two things. Many crimes are not reported for these four reasons. Some crimes are too minor, the victim doesn't report them, no point. The shopkeeper whose Mars bar is pinched. The victim may be unaware. Again, Mars bar gets pinched from the shopkeeper doesn't even know about it, can't tell the police. The crime may be what we call victimless. If there's a drug deal, someone sells drugs, someone buys drugs, that's two crimes, but no victims and no one tells the police. Or some crimes, people may be ashamed, not want to get the police involved. Rape is a classic example. Other examples would include domestic violence. Other big problem with the official police stats, lots of crimes are not recorded by the police. If you tell the police about a crime, if they do not write it down, if they don't record it, it officially does not exist. Yeah? So, a theft crime, you report to the police, the thing that's stolen is worth less than a tenner, they don't record it. The police have their own rules, procedures and policies, and that has a big impact on the crime stats. They decide what to write down and what to write it down as. So domestic violence might be written down as a nuisance, therefore not a crime. Yeah? And this can also create a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah? The police don't record the crimes, therefore that crime doesn't exist, therefore they don't investigate it. And they say, I told you that crime's not a problem. Look at the crime stats, it's not there. Okay, next bit. Alternative crime stats. If the official government stats are not that useful, well, what is useful? The big one we use are victim studies. In a victim study, you pick a representative sample of people, the right mix of people, and you ask them for how many crimes and of what sort of crimes they've been a victim of. The big one in Britain is, well, it used to be called the British Crime Survey and has loosely been renamed the Crime Survey for England and Wales. Yeah? You go out, you ask the right couple of thousand people, could you please tell us all the crimes of which you've been a victim of in the last year? It's a much more accurate way of coming up with crime stats. However, not a perfect one. Again, problem, things like victimless crimes, things like drug deals don't appear. There's no victim, therefore a victim study doesn't work. Yeah. The other one we can use, of course, is self-report studies. You go to prisons, you anonymously ask people in prison, could you please tell us about all the other crimes you have committed? Very, very useful. It's told us what we have in Britain, and we think in most countries, are what we call prolific criminals. It's not everybody commits one or two crimes. It's a few people committing loads and loads of crimes. They are prolific. So if someone's in prison for burglary, the chances are they committed 30, 40, maybe 100 burglaries. Yeah. So it's a very good method for figuring out who and what sort of people commit crime. The problem, of course, with certain groups are going to lie to you, maybe exaggerate, particularly if you're talking to young men. If you talk to young men in prison about their violent past, they're just going to make things up. They're going to claim stabbings. They're at home with their mum, stabbed him up. Yeah, so it's not a perfect system, but better. Okay, now I want to look at theories of crime. Excuse me. The basic theory of why people commit crime is to get stuff. Because our culture values money and possessions. So in our culture, we value material possessions. And then certain groups, most of the working class, cannot get these things. We tell them, you must have these things, but you can't have them. Therefore, they commit crimes to get the things they feel are important. It's often called anomie. It's a conflict in your head between different parts of your culture. You know you shouldn't do it, but you want this stuff. Crime is the solution to the problem. Yeah. People commit crimes to get the things they feel are important. This is in fact the Marxist theory of crime. They say crime makes perfect sense, bank robberies make perfect sense. If you value material possessions and tell people they can't have them, they're going to steal them. Yeah. It's a completely rational thing to do. The problem with this theory is there's plenty of crimes it cannot explain, like assault, vandalism. This theory doesn't explain smashing up bus stops. It's something else for that. We've got a biological theories of crimes, eugenics, people were born that way. These days we do not agree with these theories, they're out. They're certainly not sociology. There's the culture and socialisation theory of crime. You're socialised into thinking, oh, this is okay, committing this crime is not a problem, I'll do it anyway. The shameless phenomena. Moving on. Cohen, while studying delinquent subcultures, youth offending, come up with the idea it's all to do with status frustration. You find another way to get status. We did this with the education and the anti-school peer group. This is how you explain smashing up bus stops. Yeah, you smash the bus stop up, you get status from your peer group. Final big theory is the labelling theory. Now, labellings are universal. We all do it all the time. Yeah, we label people all the time. But in terms of crime, say it's not the act, but how people see it and judge the person committing the act. E.g., you see a young black man in the street. Oh, he's going to rob me. Yeah? That's labelling. And it's a problem if it becomes your master status. If the deviant or criminal label becomes your master status, the first thing everyone thinks of when they see you, it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah? Think about the middle-class white who is caught stealing. Often we think, let off, give him a second chance, because it's not like them, it's not who they really are. Then we got to look at, well, who commits crime? Yeah. First off, let's look at white-collar crime, middle-class crime. Yeah. Things like bribery, tax fraud, things you do as part of your job, health and safety violations. Often covered up, often victimless. And if you remember, we say, well, why is this type of crime less important? Hegemony, Marxists would say. Yeah. The middle class control the culture, therefore the crimes they commit are seen as less important. Other groups who commit crime, is it male or female? I think it's male. Again, could be a self-fulfilling prophecy though. Old or young, also could be that. Black, white, I think black. Again, self-fulfilling prophecy. Rich or poor, to do with class. But again, is it also a self-fulfilling prophecy? This is a big argument the Marxists have. They say it's all about hegemony and that sort of thing. Final bit. No, actually it's not quite. Almost final bit. Look at moral panics. The media. The media, mostly newspapers, choose something to panic about. Knife crime. Exaggerate it. Demand action. The government's got to crack down. A simple solution. Knife archers, that sort of thing. Tougher sentences. It's much worse than it was. It's terrible now. When I was a kid, it was fine. We didn't use knives, we used fists. This leads to amplification. People carry knives. So more people commit the crime. Deviance, amplification. Yeah. Why does this happen? Papers need to sell themselves. People have got to buy them, make money. They do it in the summer, when it's quiet, and because they think people are idiots. Yeah. Deviance, amplification. The media making things worse, creating a moral panic. Knife crime is the best example of this. And finally, social control. This means the way we get people to behave in the ways we want them to behave. We do it through threats and pressure, mostly pressure, informal social control, family, peer group, school, religion, work, socialisation. We don't have to force people not to go around stabbing each other. You shouldn't. This has got into your head through the informal social control system. And for those people for whom it doesn't work, we have a formal system. Police, courts, prisons, ASBOs, youth offending team. It's called the criminal justice system. But importantly, this is a much bigger deal than this. This is for dealing with the minority of people for whom this doesn't work.